How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. There are some people getting absolutely pissed that Bitcoin keeps on moving up. They are scared that Bitcoin keeps on moving up, and they're not positioned well, and they're going to have to ape in. I want to show you some clips about some people that are very bearish on Bitcoin still, and I'll explain why it's important to watch these. Because honestly, right, if everyone's bullish on an asset, it probably won't go up as much as if there are still some people sitting on the other side of the trade, right? So I want to go through some of the people sitting on the other side of the trade here today. If you don't mind, hit subscribe, turn on the bell notification underneath the video to see future videos just like this. There are a lot of people tuning in right now, a lot of people wanting to know what's happening because Bitcoin's moving up, and we continue to see more buying. That is the thing that's driving the markets right now. That, along with shorts, having to cover. Now, there are some shorts that we'll look at here today. Some people that are betting against Bitcoin. But it's a beautiful day, so soak it in. Enjoy it. I hope you had some longs open if you have accounts over at Margex or Blowfin. If you don't already have some accounts over there, I would suggest looking into it. As you can see, like when there are really bullish times in the market, this is where you print money having longs. Like if you don't want to leverage trade in the bear market, okay, I get it. You know, you don't know which way the market's going to go, but we've been up only for the last year and a half. This has all been a good time to be leverage trading. If you're comfortable with that, of course, there are links to Margex and to Blowfin underneath the video, two of the best exchanges. I just saw Margex funding rates were like 3 times lower than Binance, and I asked them about that, and it's because they actually can work with some smaller players because they're a smaller exchange and they can get better terms. So it's cheaper to even leverage exchange on some of these exchanges than some of the large exchanges sometimes. So definitely check these out underneath the video. Now, as you can see, Bitcoin just continues moving up. It's so beautiful. But some people are pissed. You know, we have these ETFs, and I don't know why anyone bet against this man right here. Well, no, not Jim Cramer. I thought I had a little graphic for BlackRock, but I don't know why anyone bets against BlackRock and Fidelity. They have billions and billions of dollars they can have flow into these ETFs, which just swallows up all the available Bitcoin. People don't understand. Even people that are quote unquote smart don't understand the scarcity effect of Bitcoin. And it's not becoming more liquid. I can tell you that. It's harder and harder to get your hands on Bitcoin because of people like this, Mr. 100. I showed this in the last video, but just buying a ton today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 buys now. One of them was 200 Bitcoin. So he's bought 12, or the entities bought 1,200 Bitcoin here today, and they just keep on stacking. Like today, they're getting really bullish. It looks like they're buying all the way up to 60,000. They took a little bit of a break, you know, since it broke 60,000, but people are buying still. As you can see, Bitcoin moving up to 61,000. But people are pissed. Let me show you this. Let me show you Jim Cramer, and then some shorters, and some people still thinking Bitcoin is dumb.
Underperformance, okay? It's depressing. I don't want. What has Bitcoin ever done for mankind? Are you ever on a Bitcoin phone? Watson, come here, I need you. I mean, what is it?
Well, coming up, United Healthcare is.
So he says it's depressing. What has Bitcoin ever done for mankind? Is there a Bitcoin phone? Maybe he needs to be turned on to Solana phones, right? No, just because a company makes something doesn't mean that's really helped mankind. For example, how many companies has he talked about that he's bullish on that have no real benefit to mankind? They're just a copy and paste of something else, or they end up doing nothing. They have no real business model. Bitcoin provides security. It provides a hedge against oppressive governments that continue to increase the amount of printing over time. It gives someone the ability to send money or send Bitcoin across the world in seconds for a fraction of what it would normally cost at any time. So Bitcoin provides a lot of value. Just because it's not physical doesn't mean that it's not important. That's stupid, right? So Jim Cramer, pissed off, probably because he called for us to sell Bitcoin. I think it was under 40,000. Of course, he said sell Bitcoin a million times. Gareth Soloway, which I don't like to point out other YouTube creators, but he's been pretty open about his shorts. So I'm just going to play it here. I know some people like him, some people don't like him. I have nothing against the guy, but he has said that he's bullish long-term on Bitcoin, and yet he just tripled down on his underwater Bitcoin short.
Right into the Bitcoin chart. right now trading above 60,000. So just a heads up, I always try to be transparent with you guys. I added my last add to my short on Bitcoin just above 60,000, bringing my average to about, I think it's 56,405, give or take. Don't quote me on that exact number to the dollar, but that's what I remember it being, 56,405. We'll see if I get wrecked or not, as some of you guys like to say.
I give him props. I give him props for being so open and honest about these positions, but he's just adding more fuel to the fire. When shorts have to cover, if they don't want to continue shorting, which he said he's going to get out. If we hit 70,000, he's getting out of his short. So that's why I think we could have an explosive move. We hit all-time highs. Now all of a sudden, boom, $3,000 or something like that. Shorts have to cover. Shorts think that we're going to fall back down after we hit all-time highs. Maybe we get rejected. He's one of those people that adds fuel to the fire. He does not want Bitcoin to move up. And he's not the only one. There are people that are even more pissed than him when it moves up. Peter Schiff says, it looks like Bitcoin isn't digital gold, but a digital way to bet against gold. So it's basically digital anti-gold. Bitcoin buyers need to hope that the dollar stays strong against other fiat currencies, that inflation stays in check, and that the Fed credibility is not lost. Interesting, because gold's been pretty much sideways for the last 10 years, and yet Bitcoin's still moving up, so I'm not sure it's really a hedge against gold or anti-gold. I think it's just that people would rather own it, right? Like, there's a reason that gold hasn't gone up that much over the last 10 years, and it's not like, oh, people are taking money out of gold and investing in Tesla. No, they just would rather invest in Tesla. Same thing with Bitcoin. Yeah, we have seen flows come out of gold, but that's because people are literally just wanting to invest in Bitcoin instead of gold. And maybe that changes at some point in the future, but you have to remember, like, Bitcoin isn't really tied to anything right now. The Nasdaq's down and Bitcoin's up for the last 2 days. Bitcoin's been on massive rallies over the last week, and it's not like the Nasdaq's rallying. It's not like it's really tied to gold at all. Gold's probably just tied to the general market, and Bitcoin isn't, because there are people that have been under-allocated towards Bitcoin, and they're adding until they have the right allocation. Same thing here. Like, people want to allocate. It has nothing to do with gold. But Peter Schiff seems to be talking about Bitcoin as much as gold, if not more. I saw him talk about Bitcoin in another post too. Honestly, it's funny at this point. Big banks are probably the ones that are pissed off the most that Bitcoin keeps on going up. Now, they'll make money eventually from this, but I've covered this. They were absent from the Bitcoin ETFs. Of course, some of them play some kind of role, but they want to actually custody Bitcoin for high net worth individuals. And right now, those high net worth individuals are going to places like Fidelity and BlackRock and giving, they're not exactly competitors. Like JP Morgan isn't an exact competitor with BlackRock and Fidelity, but they both manage money. They're trying to get AUM. And unfortunately, that AUM is going over to BlackRock to pay some fees, or Fidelity, places like that. And, if they get these ETFs approved, they'll make a lot of money from it. But right now, they've got to be pissed off Bitcoin's running, because there are so many people jumping into BlackRock and Fidelity. They're getting really good returns over there. And JP Morgan is noticeably absent from being able to give this to their clients, at least in a way that's cost effective. So they're trying to reach out. And I made that video yesterday about how they have BlackRock's giving you 48 hours, because it's almost the halfway point between when the ETFs were launched and the halving. It's the halfway point. And these banks watching Bitcoin move up from $40,000 to $61,000, I can guarantee they're kind of pissed off they're not included in this. I say kind of pissed off. They're definitely pissed off. Let me show you this clip too. This is really what it breaks down to, why Bitcoin moves up and why it's so hard for some people to understand where Bitcoin's going to go.
Now, what happens to all these wonderful models if 10 billionaires decide to buy $1 billion of Bitcoin each and announce we bought it, we're not ashamed of it, we're going to buy more? All your models are destroyed, completely devastated. Bitcoin goes to the moon. Now,
this is from a couple of years ago. I tried to look up the video, and yeah, I couldn't find anything within the last few years from Michael Saylor on this, on HGAaccess. But yeah, it sounds like this guy was bearish on Bitcoin, and Michael Saylor says basically you can't account for this. As we can see here, like, this person just started buying a year and 3 months ago, and they bought over $1 billion worth. You can't account for this in models unless you literally put in there, okay, well, every year there's going to be 10% more billionaires that buy Bitcoin, and they're going to buy $1 billion worth. We've seen so many entities come in the space that are just buying Bitcoin like crazy. Like in the last week, we saw someone buy over $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, a new wallet. That is really hard to account for. And when you account for it, the numbers get stupid. Like the numbers get stupid when you account for how much these ETFs are buying, countries buying, rich individuals buying. Like it's almost not even worth modeling because it goes up so fast. I say it's not worth modeling because if you even look at like the general vicinity, even if you're off by 70%, the numbers are still nuts. So you're only going to want to invest in Bitcoin. And I was sitting there explaining, we had a very nice day of weather yesterday here. Took the afternoon off a little bit early, went to grab a beer with some family, my wife too, and I was explaining to them why it's so big what Fidelity did yesterday, including Bitcoin and retirement accounts, and how it just gives never-ending buy pressure to Bitcoin. Like, what does that mean? They didn't understand. Like I told them, hey, Fidelity included in retirement allocations from here on out in Canada. And they're like, can you explain this? So I go through it, and people just don't get it. People don't understand. I mean, some people do. Like these people that we're talking about here should understand what this means for Bitcoin, but they've just set themselves up on the other side of the trade. Even if you're bullish, like Gareth Soloway, long term, he still positioned himself on the wrong side of this trade. You don't bet against something that is never ending up, right? You don't try to make short-term gains on the downside. You position yourself for the long term in it. Maybe you go short-term long on it, but you position yourself to the upside because there's so much more upside. And that's something I've talked about. You know, we always talk about max pain. Like, oh, there are a bunch of shorts that need to be liquidated. There are a bunch of longs liquidated. I think there's validity to this. But I also like to consider the point of max benefit. The ETF issuers, financial advisors, and hedges is what I meant to say, print money as the ETFs grow. The fees are much higher than something like an S&P 500. They are all inflows. Now, they're not all inflows, but you can see day after day we have net inflows from these ETFs compared to like someone trading VOO. It's back and forth. It's sideways. And the underlying asset is going up 2 to 10x very fast. Up is the max benefit. Like, think about that. So many people were wondering, like, oh, is BlackRock just getting in to destroy the Bitcoin market? Okay, well, there's a max amount of benefit they can get from that. Okay, they short or they rehypothecate, whatever they do to destroy Bitcoin, whatever. They make, I don't know, $10 billion, $50 billion. Like, okay, there's a max amount that they can really do. However, on the upside, it's infinite, right? If I told you I could make you, that you would be given either $1,000 a day for the rest of existence, or I could pay you $10,000 today, and you knew I was good for it, you'd probably take $1,000 every day, right? That's how it is with these ETFs. This is the point of max benefit. You're BlackRock. You get 500,000 Bitcoin in the first year. Think about those fees. Think about the price going up of that Bitcoin. Everyone that you got into those ETFs is happy. You're making a crap ton of fees. And, you know, the fees have lowered a little bit. They're down to like 0.2%, 0.3% AUM. I don't think they're going to get much lower. Maybe they're a little bit lower in the future, but you can make the case, oh, well, it's just more risky to buy Bitcoin, so we need a little bit higher fee to custody it really well, right? So the fees are probably going to trend down a little bit, but they're not going to go to zero, in my opinion, like a lot of other ETFs, and maybe they do, but they still make money off of those. You're going to make a ton of money because the fees are higher than something like an S&P 500 index fund. Again, they're almost all inflow, so you're going to push people to buy these ETFs. You're going to push people to put an allocation. If you're Fidelity, you're putting 1% allocation in these, and that hasn't even spread to the US yet. How far do we go up when Fidelity starts suggesting that everyone has a 1% allocation? Like, everyone should have 1% allocation. They start putting it in retirement funds. They start pushing it to pension funds. All financial advisors, or 90% of them, approve ETFs. And then we go up to the moon because there's not much Bitcoin left. And all these people, they're on the wrong side of the trade, especially shorters. Right? They have to cover at some point. But Peter Schiff and Jim Cramer continue to be on the wrong side of the trade. Jim Cramer will flip. when it hits price discovery or something, he'll say, oh, I didn't think it was going to go up, but this seems to be a really good asset to buy right now. We're in price discovery. The halving's happening. He's going to flip. He's going to flip. Everyone's on Twitter's going to freak out that he's actually bullish again. But yeah, right now, there's just too many people on the wrong side of the trade. They're pissed. But that can be good. That can be good because, yeah, they can try to fight and fight and fight, but the numbers don't lie, and eventually they're going to buy in. So that pushes up the price even faster. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. I appreciate you guys watching. If you are short Bitcoin, I'm thinking of you. I'm hoping you're okay. But if you're long Bitcoin, congrats, because you're in a life-changing asset. Again, I said this yesterday, but we're never going to get an opportunity like this again. We're never going to get an opportunity to get into an asset that is being adopted like this, from nothing in your lifetime to being included as part of a 60-40 bond stock portfolio. Like, this isn't happening again. We are in life-changing times, and this is your ticket out of whatever position you're in, or this is your ticket to 2x, 3x your wealth over the next few years if you position yourself correctly. Maybe you just have a 3-4% allocation though, and still you're going to be much more well off than everyone else that's in your same position that doesn't have Bitcoin. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Again, you can check out the links to Margex and to Blowfin underneath the video. I'm going to do a couple reviews on some other exchanges too here soon, so be on the lookout for those. I appreciate it. Hit subscribe if you haven't done that already. If you like these kinds of videos, if they get you pumped up, let me know in the comment section. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.